Hey guys, it's Allie Nicole, and I'm here at NEW's Headlock and Heartbreaks, and I am here today with Anthony Toatele.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. All right, so we're going to kick this thing off with what made you decide that you wanted to be a pro wrestler?
So I watched tons of pro wrestling as a kid. Like, it was the thing that I did with my dad. When I was a little kid, like every Monday night, I could stay up late and do something special with my dad. So fast forward, I was trying to play professional football. And at some point, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think I was 24. The NFL was not calling for me. So, which is fine because at the time I started watching wrestling again and kind of like started looking into guys that had played football previously and got into wrestling.
Yes.
And I found a school in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I showed up. We went through a tryout, and I was trained by a guy by the name of Congo Kong. And
Congo Kong.
Yes, Congo Kong. Shout out to Congo Kong. One of the greatest trainers in wrestling today. I owe all of my wrestling success to him and everything, all the lessons he taught me. So.
I just had the privilege of seeing him wrestling like a month or two ago. It was
man,
he was here.
He can move for a big boy, right?
Yes, he was amazing. Other than you, are there any other athletes in your family?
Yeah, so my brother, I have one brother. He was a D1 prospect for football, and he also played rugby. So he's a Division I prospect for rugby before he joined the military. My wife was in the wrestling business, known as Kinsey Alexander. She wrestled at New Era with her brother, Karn Alexander. So she, now that we have kids, she stays home and does that. But so athletes kind of all over my family, especially on the Samoan side of things.
Oh, that is awesome. Do you have a favorite finisher when you're in matches?
Yeah, so right now, because of all of my jiu-jitsu that I've been doing outside of pro wrestling, I really love putting people to sleep with the rear naked choke. It's like my favorite thing to do. If that doesn't play out right, I definitely love hitting my super kick. And I do a version of the code breaker, I guess you want to call it that. But I call it the Good Night Honolulu.
Good Night Honolulu.
Yeah.
Nice. Was there any, you said that you watched wrestling on TV, so do you have a favorite wrestler?
Absolutely. I'm half Samoan, so my favorite wrestler growing up was The Rock. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes, The Rock.
I don't think there's been a bigger wrestling name that's been successful in other avenues of entertainment and in wrestling, right?
Right.
As a little kid, I loved Sting. I loved Hulk Hogan. And then as I got older, I definitely learned to appreciate guys like Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. So yeah, those are like my big ones.
Yeah, I was just talking with the Black Cube Society earlier and was telling them that I grew up with the 90s and the 2000s wrestling, and Shawn Michaels is definitely on the list. But
Absolutely.
Undertaker was one of my top favorites.
Okay.
And when you were talking about The Rock, I automatically thought of him and Stone Cold in their feuds, which is iconic. I love it. So what's your favorite part of wrestling for NEW?
So wrestling for NEW, they have one of the best crowds. And I love it because their crowds are all homegrown, right? When you come here, these people come in month to month. You get new faces, but the fact that you have so many people that come here every month throughout the year is awesome. You don't get that a lot of places. And they really appreciate, good wrestlers. They really appreciate the work that we put in. So that's what I love about NEW.
Yeah, we were just talking earlier that NEW definitely has a family vibe and that it feels like a family
Absolutely.
wrestling for this business. I love hearing that. Do you have a dream match?
Dream match. I've had some cool matches in my life where I've wrestled. Billy Gunn was one that I never thought that I'd be able to do, and I wrestled Billy Gunn, Shannon Moore.
Shannon Moore.
Yeah, I wrestled Shannon Moore.
Oh my gosh, that's nice.
So I don't necessarily have a dream match. I would say that I really appreciate getting in the ring with guys that can go. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, that's cool. What do you hope to be remembered for at the end of your wrestling career?
Honestly, I want to be remembered that I did wrestling my way, right? Because wrestling is kind of one of those things where to be successful, you kind of have to throw everything else away. And I don't want to do that. I have a family, I've got a full-time job, and so for me, like, I want to be successful in wrestling, but also want to be successful in all other avenues of my life, and that's what I want people to remember me for, especially like young wrestlers.
Yeah.
I definitely want to tell them, and I always tell them, you don't have to give up everything else to be a good wrestler, right? Like, wrestling is a brand. You are your own brand. So if you believe in your brand, other people eventually will believe in your brand too.
I like that. What do you think the biggest misconception is of pro wrestling?
I think the biggest misconception about pro wrestling is that right there. Is that you have to give up everything to make it successful. And I'm not saying that, whether it's right or wrong, that other people have done it and have been successful at it because that's what they've chosen to do.
Yeah.
But, I want to hear more success stories from guys like, yeah, I got kids and like I wrestle 2 or 3 weekends out of the month and then I go back home to enjoy my family life and I got signed. Like, that's what I want to hear.
Nice. And then this is kind of like my favorite question. So if you came with a warning label, what would it say?
My warning label, probably ultra aggressive, definitely hot-headed, and overly confident.
All right, and as I wrap this thing up, is there anything that you would like to tell the fan base out there or to the audience that's watching?
Yeah, I would love to tell the fan base, anyone that's listening to this that's had an opportunity to watch me wrestle or is going to be watching me wrestle in the near future, I just appreciate everybody that comes out to shows that I'm on, stops by and buys a t-shirt or buys a picture, even takes a picture on a cell phone. The fans are like really what keeps me in the wrestling business because I have other things that I want to be successful at. So, follow me on Instagram and Facebook and all the Twitter and all that. But, just stop by the table and say hey, and I really appreciate all the fans.
Nice. All right, guys, you heard it here with Anthony, and we'll see you here again.